So fall's here. Even though it doesn't feel like it outside, like it's still weirdly warm in New York City, the leaves are changing, the humidity is dropping, and I just know that like out of nowhere it'll be bam, winter. So it's time to get the bedroom plants ready for the new season, and that means repotting them, refreshing anything that needs taking care of, pruning the leaves that don't look so good, if there are any pests, treating them, just generally getting them ready to thrive and be their best healthy selves until spring comes knocking. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Repot, refresh, rejuvenate. My bedroom plant zone is generally split into what I call 3 distinct areas. There are the plants that are right by the bed, basically by the window. There we have Anthurium veitchii and Anthurium Zara X Michelle, Doc Block Zara X Michelle, and a snake plant. Those are all right here. And then on top of the shelf, up there, I have Syndapsis pictus exotica, Syndapsis exotica. So I'm going to have a look at all those, see what they need, and fix them. And then in the back of the room, I have, on one hand over here, I have a few Anthuriums actually. Anthurium longistrosum, Anthurium besseyi af, and an Anthurium magnificum ex forgetii that is being gripped strongly by a nasty spider mite infestation, so I have to deal with that. And then there's also a pothos pearls and jade back there. I'm not sure what I'm doing with that plant. And then the most sort of labor intensive of all, we've got my plant shelf in the back, and there's too many plants to name on that. It's got mostly Anthuriums actually. I think there's 1 or 2 philodendrons on there, but by and large it's Anthuriums. And directly behind me, still I consider part of the plant shelf, but right behind me are my Anthurium pallidiflorum, Anthurium clarinervium, Anthurium forgetii X magnificum. So I'm going to be going through them all over the next few days, kind of chopping, in some instances maybe propagating if need be, but most of it's going to be repotting. So grab something warm to drink, settle in for a nice long video. I will probably end up splitting this video into 2 because it is going to take me quite a while to get through all the plants in the room. I learned my lesson. I'm just going to get my potting mat together. Going to go grab the veitchii. Okay. I just watered this one just to soften the roots up for the repot, and I'm actually going to put the next one, the one that's next in line, in the shower, so that that's getting some water while I'm repotting this guy. So I usually keep my tree fern fiber in this container because the bag comes with holes for aeration, which makes sense, but it gets the tree fern powder everywhere and I don't like it, so I'm just going to refill this before I start. I have my tree fern fiber on Amazon, subscribe and save. That is how much I love this stuff. I refuse to be without it. I just think it's the magic ingredient for Anthuriums. Like before I added tree fern, my Anthuriums did okay, but once I added this, it was like night and day. They just took off. So something that I usually like to do is just mix up small batches every time I repot instead of mixing a big batch. That's because the ingredients that I use for Anthuriums are quite expensive and I don't want them just drying out in open air, so I try to just mix up what I need. Of course, today I'm repotting quite a few Anthuriums, so I could mix up a huge batch, but I'm not going to because it's evening, it's getting late, and I'll probably continue this tomorrow and then again after my trip. So I feel like small batches is still the way to go. And also, I use different ratios depending on the Anthurium I'm working with. So the smaller an Anthurium, the more tree fern fiber I typically use. When they're small, I think I go something like 70% tree fern, 30% other things. And, you know, as they get bigger, I adjust that until I get to maybe like a 50-50. Maybe 50-50 or 60-40, depending. Anyway, this Anthurium veitchii is a good size, so I could do a 50-50. I'm going to add some leca, because it's going into, I don't know, the pot is a decent size, and we're going into winter, so I'm not 100% sure if it's going to adjust. Well, I'm sure it'll adjust into the new pot fine. This is very dusty, by the way. I should be wearing a mask doing this. So this is the tree fern. I'm just eyeballing it. You can measure it out. I don't really have exact ratios. I know what I'm looking for, so when I see it, I'll know if I'm, I'll know it when I see it, basically. This is Molly's aroid mix. I like to use Molly's because, one, it's a very, very good mix. Two, for me anyway, it's just a huge space saver because if I were to buy all the things that go into this individually, they would just take up so much space. Cocoa chips, cocoa fiber, bark, leca, worm castings, limestone, perlite, charcoal, like, come on. So I think it's better for me to buy it, to just buy the mixed, the Molly's pre-mixed, and that way I can have a little bit of everything when it comes to all this good stuff without kind of having to have huge bags of all the different things taking up space that I really don't have in the house. So that's what I do. I've added a bit too much aroid mix, so I'm going to put some more tree fern. Ugh. This bowl is too small, not practical. I'm going to get something else. All right, so I'm going to just put some in here. The bowl is just easier to mix in just because of the higher walls, rather than using this shallow pan because I feel like it will get stuff everywhere. And I just want to be able to give it a good mix before I pot it up. So I'm mixing it's some aroid mix from before, from my last repot. I think it was probably another Anthurium. Anyway, that's just been sitting around somewhere. So mixing this up. Now, again, like I said, probably best to wear a mask when doing this mixing because it's quite dusty. But I don't have one to hand right now, so and I just need to get this repot. This project of repotting all the sort of bedroom plants is something that I've been putting off for a long time. I was supposed to do this in spring, and I sort of half started it and then didn't finish, and there are a lot of plants in my bedroom that have been desperate for a repot for a long time, so I'm pretty excited to finally actually get going on this. And I think because I'm more realistic in my approach in terms of how long it's actually going to take me to do this, I'm hoping I'll make really good progress. So I'm using this clear pot from a seller on Etsy. I can't remember, something about green pots and something, I don't know. I'll find the link and put it in the description, but I only use clear pots with my Anthuriums because I really need to be able to see what the roots are doing, and also that's how I know when to water. When there's no more condensation, then I know it's time. So this is a clear pot. They don't have any more. Once you get to past a certain size, you can't really find these. It has to be these round ones, but I don't mind because clear is clear, and these ones are great as well, especially for Anthuriums that do like more water. These are really good because they let in the air on the side, but they still let the plant have like all the water it needs. Okay. And so now I'm just going to go and I'm going to actually put something under this so I can water the bottom. add some more tree fern to this because now I can just keep it nice and fluffy. That's lekker. I'm just adding some to break up the tree fern a bit. You can see that there's fine dust, just in case it starts to kind of pack down too much, you know? Like, lekker is good for that. There's a little bit of my chores. I'm using Great White at the moment for the first time, but I've also used Bigfoot in the past. I like them both. They seem to work equally well, do great things for my plant's root system. I always add mycorrhizae when I repot. I think it's one of the best ways to fight against root rot. I'm gonna add some slow release fertilizer. This is because, I'm sure you've noticed by now, I travel quite a bit for work, personal, and when I have people water my plants if I'm not here, I just don't feel like asking them to add fertilizer to the water is practical. You know, I feel like that's just a hassle for someone who's doing me a favor. So I prefer to use slow release in the soil as a backup, so that even when fertilizer is not being added to the water, the plant can still access some nutrients. But in spite of the slow release, I try to fertilize quite a bit when I water. This, here's the root ball. And as you can see, this repot is long overdue. Before I repot it, I want to remove this smallest leaf. These ones are starting to turn yellow. I'm thinking about removing them. Should I? Maybe not. Let me get it out first. I'll assess once it's out. Okay, it's gonna take me a while. Put you down. Move you to the side. I'm just trying to get the plant out of the pot. It is wedged in there firmly. Look at the roots. It's like ramen noodles. And I'm just trying to not to break my plant by accident in the process, you know. Put it down gently. And now I'm just working the pot and then try to work the plant out. Here we go, it's coming. Yep. Whew. That's crazy. Now, I do not disturb the root ball when I repot. I just chuck it in to the new pot like that, as is. Honestly, I should be giving this guy a moss pole right now. This is a climber. It obviously could do with some support, so I should have made a moss pole and I should have given it a moss pole, and I haven't done. I'm probably going to end up sort of regretting that. It's too late now. I do not have a pole and I do not have time to make one, so it is what it is. So now I'm going to put the potting mix into, backfill the pot with the potting mix. I really thought having a potting table would make repotting easier, but I guess this is quite a big plant, so it's always going to be tricky. Okay, so now I'm just going to backfill. Shake it a bit so that the potting mix kind of settles in a bit, you know. I'm trying to kind of get it to stand the way I want it to, you know, just so it's not leaning as much. Leaves are all over the place on this bad boy, honestly. It's kind of, it's wild. It grows really wild. And actually, maybe I should put a stake in here, just to kind of, or a couple of stakes, just to kind of force the leaves in the direction that I want them to. Literally made just about the right amount. That's crazy. Okay, so now I'm gonna water it, and then I'm going to add some stakes and see if I can kind of control it a bit. Okay, so now I'm watering it, and I find that when I repot plants, it can take a while for the watering to take. The soil is on the hydrophobic side. Actually, I think what I'm gonna do is put this in the shower, and I'm gonna let the shower kind of run over it, which does a really good job of hydrating the soil properly. I'm gonna put some stakes in here to control the leaves, and then I will hydrate it, water it properly. But first things first, I'm cutting off 2 of these small ones. I just think it will look better. 1, 2. I know it's not nice to cut things off for aesthetics, but first of all, they're tiny and old. And second of all, this thing just needs to get under control. It's pretty ridiculous. I should really be cutting others, but I can't. I'm not going to. I love them too much. So yeah, I'm thinking if I can keep everybody sort of standing like this, then it's not too bad, is it? I mean, these ones are just acting crazy, but that's okay. Right. So I have some acrylic stakes. It really needs a moss pole, but you know, we've established that I haven't done what I should have done on that front, so I'm just going to use a couple of acrylic stakes just to hold things in place, just to give it something, a little bit of support, and then I will sort out a moss pole at a later date. Number 1. Number 2. Snip off this old inflow, because this is also unnecessary. Okay, and yeah, and I think there's no point in trying to get these guys to play ball, is there? I mean, I think it looks a lot better. I'm going to put it in the shower, and then when I bring it back, I'll see if I'll think about maybe trying to do something with these ones down here. Look, the acrylic stake is already complaining. It's already protesting hard. I don't know if it's any match for this guy. We'll see. Let's mix up some more soil. Okay, so now number 2 is this Anthurium Zara X Michelle. I'm gonna dump some soil in here. This plant, I have 2 of this one. What I've seen on Doc Block's page, these grow massive. And so I'm thinking that if I give it adequate space on time, I should start to see them bigger leaves. So don't forget the fertilizer, because Mama likes to eat. Okay. Now, this one should come out a lot more easily than the other one, actually, because it's not as, like, the root ball is not as crazy. Like, it has really nice roots, but it's not, you know, it's not the ramen noodle situation of the other one. So, yep, nice and easy. Right. I'm just going to dump the water in this one, and then we'll start the next one. Okay, same size pot, nice and big. And I'm filling it about, maybe about a third, not quite a third of the way, maybe about a quarter of the way. It's difficult with anthuriums because, of course, the roots reach down quickly, but it also, you know, I want to get enough substrate to cover the top where those aerial roots come out of, just to make sure, you know. Anyway, water. Again, watering with mycorrhizae as always. What I've realized is anytime I slack on using myco, whether it's great white or Bigfoot, there's a big difference in the health of root ball, but also like the plant becomes more prone to root rot. I don't know, I'm not sure if there's science to back what I'm saying, but I feel like using that stuff really helps to make it almost immune. Not completely immune, but it really helps to limit the possibility of root rot, which is my least favorite. It's my least favorite thing to deal with, so I prefer to just try to avoid that where I can. Alright, so I've dumped this. I think that's full enough. This one leaf has some dry bits. This is my favorite. I could cut off the whole leaf, but I could also just do the Craig Miller Randall special and just trim it. This also has some dry bits, so I'm just gonna... I'm sorry, I just don't like ugly leaves. And I know it looks crazy on here, but actually when you see it on the shelf, it's not as obvious. Period. Okay, I'm going to swap this one for the other one that's currently in the shower. And then, let me water this a little bit here. Now I'll just put it in the shower. I'll swap this for the other one that's in the shower, and then we'll start on the next batch. We're just like whizzing through. So we've done 2 big ones now, which is good. The next ones we're going to do are actually going to be a lot smaller, and you'll see how I do that. You'll see how it's slightly different when I'm potting a smaller plant instead of these giants. So these 4 up here are the next ones I'm going to be repotting. There is an Anthurium Velvet Moira. I don't really know what that is, but I'm gonna look it up. I have no idea, but I just bought it. Pallidiflorum X Fregetii. Crazy, right? Anthurium Pallidiflorum X Fregetii, Anthurium bomboicens, and Anthurium, I think it's Pallidiflorum X Clarinervium, or something like that. I'm not 100%. I will look it up and put it on the screen by the time you watch this, hopefully. Yeah, it's definitely something like that, Pallidiflorum X Clarinervium, because it's got that cardboardy Clarinervium vibe. But these have all desperately needed repotting for a long time now, so I'm super excited to get these done. And yeah, I think these will be the last ones I do tonight, and I'll move on to the rest tomorrow. It's actually getting dark here, but I can't stop. I have to try to get at least these 4 tiny ones repotted now, because I'm going on a trip for 5 days. I'll be gone for almost a week. They will definitely wilt while I'm gone if they stay in these tiny pots. So just gonna try to get them set up. Now I watered these yesterday because I knew I was going to be doing this and I wanted to be ready. So the first one is this Anthurium pedatum crossed with Fregetii. Can you believe it? The leaves feel like tough, like cardboard, almost reminiscent of a Clarinervium, but in the shape of a Fregetii. And I'm really interested to see how this grows, because I have a Fregetii crossed with Clarinervium. And that one has these like very cardboardy leaves as well, but pedatum has like fingers type of thing, right? So I wonder what that cross ends up looking like as this plant gets bigger. So I've been dying to repot this one actually because I really want to see it kind of take off and thrive. It's on a top shelf that maybe doesn't have the best light, so I'm probably going to have to do something about the lighting in that. Maybe order a grow light. I think maybe that'll be the third part of this video. I'll probably get a grow light and just get that sorted. But yeah, let's pull this out of here and see what the root ball is saying. The roots actually look pretty good. It is potted in 100% tree fern fiber. That's because when I bought this, it was a seedling, and I always pot my Anthurium seedlings in nothing but tree fern fiber. They love it. Look at how beautifully it's rooted, but it's needed a repot for a long time now. So I'm going to be repurposing this pot, which the VGI came out of. I've washed it, sanitized it, and so this is my soil mix. This soil mix has more tree fern fiber than aroid mix because a younger plant is going into it, and I want it to have as much tree fern as possible because I know it likes that. So I'm actually gonna go about a third of the way. I'm going a third of the way because I want to be sure that these sort of aerial root nubs get covered when I put in the soil mix. Water and mycorrhizae situation. I've put her in, and this is actually the perfect size, I think. Yeah, I think she could have upsized a lot sooner, but what are you gonna do? Better late than never. So now I'm just backfilling this pot. Okay. Fill it really nicely. This looks pretty good. It's looking pretty good. This is full. I'm gonna go and water this in the shower like I did the previous ones, and then I'm gonna grab the next guy. The other one is in the shower, and I noticed that this one had a few gaps, so I'm just adding a bit more before I put it back on the shelf in the bedroom. Yeah, there we go. I think that's good. Just make sure to leave a lip for the watering. Water it one more time. Cool. She's done. I'll leave her in the bathroom to drain, and I'll just grab the next one. Okay, so next one is this, another Forgetii hybrid. So it is Anthurium Forgetii X Pallidiflorum. And this one also is desperate for a repot so badly that the newest leaf basically shriveled up to a crisp while I was away because it didn't get watered when I was on my last business trip a week ago. So I know that this desperately needs a better water supply, better supply of nutrients. I've neglected it. It's also potted up in 100% tree fern fiber. Very, very beautiful, nice green roots. And that one I'm putting into this because I don't really have, this is apparently the same size as the other ones I've been using. I know it seems crazy for a plant like this to go into a massive pot like this, but I'm not going to fill the pot all the way to the top. I'm going to keep it relatively, probably do it like halfway, so that as the plant grows, I can just keep filling it in. But also, I'm telling you, you'd be surprised at how vigorously this bad boy roots, especially once it gets some tree fern fiber. So I'm just going to pull it out of this tiny pot. It's been in here for a long time, like since summer? No, maybe spring. It's been in here for ages. Like it would have grown a lot more by now. I lost a tiny bit of root, but that's okay. And again, I'm not gonna faff with the roots at all. I'm just gonna pot it like that. So we have this. Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Water and mica. Just to wet it. I'm doing this because I want the mica to come into direct contact with the root ball. Here we are. Does that look crazy? It looks ridiculous, almost like a kid playing dress up in their mum or dad's clothes. Like, this is crazy. It looks very silly, but I think it'll be all right. I think it'll be all right. I'm going to water it carefully at first, just to see sort of how it does. Make sure that it's happy in this size of pot. Honestly, I'm not too worried about the pot size. What I'm more worried about is like they're just the light in the room where this guy lives is not very good. Luckily, this one's on the top shelf where it does have a bit of light, but I don't know. Now that I'm putting it in a big pot, it might not be able to access said light. So I definitely need to resolve the lighting situation in there ASAP because, yeah, it's not good. It's not good. Okay, so I'm going to pile a little bit around those top nodes. I don't want the thing to be too full. That's the problem. I'm just going to have to be careful when I'm watering it to avoid rot, you know? I think that's pretty good. So now I'm going to pop this into the shower like the other one to water. And we just have 2 more to go and I will be done for the night. It's pitch black outside, so I think I'm going to stop and continue in the morning, but I do want to get the other 2 done. I just want to have it done. I don't want to have to worry about it anymore. And then I will carry on with the rest tomorrow.
I want to be in the video.
All right, come on. This is Laura. Right. Say hi, YouTube.
Hello, YouTube.
All right. Take the charger.
Yes.
Do you know how to unplug it carefully?
Guys, I'm so smart. I'm really smart. I'm like smarter than Einstein.
All right, buddy. See you later. So I just remembered another emergency repot that absolutely has to happen. Like, I know I'm saying I'm going to repot the rest tomorrow morning before I go. My flight is early evening, but you know how things are. I'm saying that now, but things will get hectic tomorrow. I've not even packed, so who knows. So I'm just going to do this now. This is another one of my forgetty eyes, and this is what you call extreme neglect. Don't be like me. I have some beautiful Anthuriums, and this one isn't one of them. This is an absolute shocker. So for this one, I'm just gonna remove everything that's yellow, old. What happened with this one is, this was an imported forgetty. I imported it from Ecuador. This was actually the first forgetty I ever imported all those years ago. In 2022, either at the end of 2021 or the beginning of 2022. You're looking at how tiny it is, right? That's crazy. Basically, I imported it. It struggled. It dropped all its leaves. It basically went back to a stump, and I chopped it up and propagated it, and it grew these 2 beauties, and has been in here ever since. And as you can see, if I had just repotted this like months and months ago, it would probably be massive and thriving by now, but I keep saying yes I will and then not doing it. It's really bad. So I'm committing to dealing with it now. I'm going to put it in this, which is small compared to what I'm putting the others in. But Forgetia is a plant that I struggle with, and I'm not really sure why. So I prefer not to risk the roots. I'm just going to get some more tree fern. And I actually have a good amount of tree fern in the house right now. That's how you know I'm super behind on my repotting, because if I was on top of it, I should not have this much of the stuff lying around. Anyway, I'm just adding a bit extra TFF because it's such a small plant. Okay, now for this one, I want to make sure that these bits all completely lie flat so that it can hopefully root, even though they're dried up. And also I spy a third baby Forgetii trying to do something. I have to be very careful pulling this out because I don't even see any roots on the side, which means whatever roots it has are very thin, kind of very delicate. Look. The roots are not very strong. It's like, you would not know that it had been growing for as long as it's got like seedling level roots. Shocking. Anyway, I'm going to make sure that all this stem gets covered. That kind of seems to be covering that tiny baby Forgetii, but it can't be helped. Cannot be helped, sorry. But it's just, it's really important that I try to get this root system as strong as possible. I'm just gonna get a bit more mica. Okay, I'm gonna water this one in here because it's so small. I'm not gonna bother showering it, watering it. Now just let it sit here and absorb the water. Take the water back up before I put it on its shelf, and then I'm gonna grab the next guy. Okay, so I'm gonna return this one to the shelf, and then I'm gonna deal with this. This is my Anthurium bomboescens. Now, bomboescens has a very similar origin story, actually, to the Forgetii I just did. It was also an import, and this plant I bought it because it had this beautiful sort of dark, you know, like shiny, velvety sheen. It was stunning, and I think it's trilobed when it gets bigger. It did not have any markings on it whatsoever, but anyway, it got root rot. It was an import, and sometimes they just don't make it right, so it sort of perished twice. This is the plant this is a very strong plant. It just keeps coming back, so I've repropagated it, and it's popped up with 2 growth points, but now it has markings, and I'm not sure if it just has markings because it's a baby, and as it gets older, the markings will completely disappear or what. I don't know, it's weird. But anyway, I'm gonna repot it because it's time. So this is going into this one because, again, this is a very strong plant. I'm pretty sure it can handle whatever I throw at it. Just gonna get it out of here, which is easier said than done because it's firmly, very well rooted into this tiny pot. Oop, lost a little bit of root, but it'll be fine. So you see, beautiful roots, but very tiny. Time to get them bigger. So I'm about halfway up this guy. Is it halfway? A third of the way. And this is gonna go right in here. Pop it like this. Actually, this is a little bit higher than I would like. I'm gonna lay it flat like this so that it ends up a bit lower in the pot. I don't know, can you see what I'm done? I've laid it flat just to get it lower in the pot. I want as much of the stem as possible to be covered so that it can have the strongest root system possible. I'm doing that now. And I shake it and move everything all around. You know, some of the stem is still uncovered, but that's not the end of the world. Put a little bit more there. There you go, like this. Okay, now I'm gonna water it. All right, another one done. And then I just have one more to go. An Anthurium Velvet Moira. Velvet Moira is a hybrid. I'll double check what the mix is in a second. I'm just gonna put this back on the shelf first. Okay, so this is an Anthurium Velvet Moira. It's a hybrid of Papillilaninum and substigatum. I don't remember how you say it. Sub something. I'll check and I'll put it on the screen. But from my experience, poppy hybrids tend to be big. So where I have this in the bedroom right now on my top shelf is actually not a realistic place to keep it for very long, but it's okay there for now. But I can see how much it's desperately needing a repot, because it's just, it's crying out for one, and probably crying out for more light, to be honest. I'll have to move it soon. But before I worry about that, I'm going to give it a new pot. So we're out of soil mix because I've used it all. So I'm going to make some more. I don't mind making a bit more mix than I usually would, because I know that I'm continuing this process tomorrow. Putting in the tree fern. I think this needs opening a bit more. Like I said, I am aiming for, I think, roughly 60-40 tree fern to aroid mix. But I'm just eyeballing it, so I don't know if I'm correct or not. So I'm just mixing this. Mix. I really like about this mix is the fluffiness, which I've used a lot of soil mixes from sort of different companies. I won't name any, but the Molly's Aroid mix, I really love it. I just think it's the type of soil mix that I can be comfortable buying. Like in the past, I haven't liked buying them because I've always thought I could do a better job of mixing it myself, you know? But just like, I feel like some of the others that I have used have not had enough variety of ingredients in them. I've always felt like I needed to add things or amend. But this is actually perfect for me. It's fantastic as a base for my tree fern, which for Anthuriums I always use tree fern soil. For all the other things, I actually just use the mollies as is. Alocasias can be different. For some of my other plants, I just use the mollies as is, but for Anthuriums, I add tree fern because I never grow Anthuriums without tree fern. I think it's essential. So this is ready. Let me get a pot. We're going to use this pot, a big boy pot for a big boy plant. So let's put a third, as we have with others, maybe a bit, not too much, because I do want to be able to cover the stem. Right, so as you can see, this has been desperate for help for quite some time, so I think it will really appreciate the repot. I'm just trying to gently remove it. Lost a little bit of root, but nothing, you know, that stuff isn't great anyway. Just pulled off some bits. Okay, put it in here, and again I'm just going to try to sort of lay it a little bit flatter. I know that seems weird and awkward, but I think it will just allow the roots I think it'll just allow for a stronger root system, you know? Okay. Of course, if I was like on top of my reports, this would not be an issue and I wouldn't have to be doing all this, but c'est la vie. Okay, move these out of the way. Just gonna pack it a little bit, make sure that we don't have huge gaps. I think it looks really good. I'm just gonna get some more water, I'm using great white, by the way. Like I said, essential for healthy roots, especially now that winter's coming. There's still a little bit more of the stem exposed than I would like. It's not ideal, is it? So I'm just gonna try to shove a little bit more around it, just to kind of try to encourage it to grab on to some of that. I don't know, could all be in vain, but got to try. All right, and that's it for tonight. So I think I'm gonna stop here, and then tomorrow I will continue on the repot. The shelf that this came from, I think, I'm not sure that shelf has anything else that needs repotting, but some of them need treating, cutting off of old ugly leaves, cutting off of inflows that are gone. Okay, I'm gonna stop here for tonight. It is, it's dark out. I've been doing this for quite some time. I want to try to do some more tomorrow morning before I go, before I fly out. But I also have to water absolutely everything. So it might be difficult to fit in repotting with all that watering. I'll try, but I'll be surprised if I don't manage to, if this is the end of repotting for now. And I continue in Spring Reset Part 2. So yeah, this is it for now, and I will continue with the rest next time.